Exodus chapter 12, verse 40 through 42. Now the sojourn of the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt was 430 years. And it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the selfsame day it came to pass that all the hosts of the Lord went out from the land of Egypt. It is a night to be much observed, until the Lord for bringing them out from the land of Egypt. You're observing the fact that the Lord brought them out of the land of Egypt. This is that night of the Lord to be observed of all the children of Israel in their generation. This morning, I'm simply going to talk to you about the Passover. Would you say the Passover? If you don't mind, put your Bibles down, put your communion cups maybe in your pockets or your purse, and let's take our hands and give God a hand clap of praise together. Oh, bless the Lord. Oh, bless the Lord. You may be seated. I have stood here more often than I have stood anywhere in almost my 40 years of ministry. It is a solemn and sobering and holy occasion to me to know that I get to pastor such great people as you and your family. And to know that I have the privilege to have the honor and respect that you give to pastor. It overwhelms me and my family and our bishop and his wife. It's a day that we're to remember. It's a day that's a very important day. For there are 10 recorded observances of the Passover in the Bible. And the first Passover was called a night much to be remembered. Now, if it were called such a night and day then, how much should the Lord's communion supper be remembered in this day and time? Let me rehearse with you what happened on that very first Passover night. The Jews were in bondage. They had been there for 400 years. God raised up a deliverer. His name was Moses. And that deliverer would lead the people out of bondage into freedom. Moses, as you know, had a burning bush experience, and God spoke to him to go to Pharaoh. So he goes to Pharaoh and he delivers this message: let my people go. And Pharaoh refuses to let God's people go. The devil doesn't ever give up easy. Anybody will understand when you're leaving the devil's kingdom and moving towards God, he's not going to give up easy. It's always a fight to get to where you want to get with God. So God said, Moses, I'll take care of that. He said, he's going to let you go because I'm going to put pressure on him until he does let you go. He said, I'm going to send plagues on the land, and I'm going to pressure them, and I am going to pursue Pharaoh to let God's people go. Then there came the plagues. There was the plague of frogs. There was the plague of darkness. There was the plague of lice. There was the plague of fire. There was a plague where all blood or all water turned to blood. There was the plague where it began to hail and it began to kill people. Many other plagues, there are 9 of them that are listed. But the last and most awful plague that came to Pharaoh, the last plague, was known as the Passover. It's a celebration for us, but to Pharaoh it was a plague. Notice God's special attention to minute details. God said to Moses, I want you to call the people together. And when you get those people together, I want you to tell each head of every household to choose a lamb. When you get these people gathered together, look at the head of the household. Tell the head of that household that there is to be a lamb for every house. If the household be too little for the lamb, then I want you to share with the next door neighbor according to the number of souls. I want that lamb to meet certain specifications. I want that lamb to be qualified. And to be qualified, here are the qualifications. It has to be a male lamb. It must be without blemish. Not one blemish on that lamb. It is to be the first month of the year. It is to be on the 10th day of that month, which will correspond with our March and April of new beginning. It was the beginning of a new life for the nation of Israel. And he said, I want you to take that lamb, and I want you to keep it from the 10th day to the 14th day pinned up. And I want you to make sure that in those 4 days that you are certain that that lamb, heads of the household, that you are certain that that lamb does not have a spot or a blemish. It's your job, Dad. It's your job, sir, as the head of your family, to make sure that that lamb does not have a blemish. Examine it well for any blemish. When that lamb then has proved that it is without blemish, I want that lamb to be offered as a sacrifice, one for each house. Then, I want you to take the blood of that lamb, and I want you to take hyssop, and hyssop weed in the blood of the lamb when you dip it. And I want you to strike the blood of the doorpost and the lintel of your house. You will take the hyssop. You will take the blood from that lamb, and you will strike the doorpost. You will strike the lintel, but you will not strike the threshold, because blood is not made to be trampled on. God never wants that to happen. So when you look through Exodus, they shall eat the flesh in the night. You will roast that lamb by the fire, and you will eat unleavened bread. You're going to eat it with bitter herbs. They shall eat it. Bitter herbs represent the bitter bondage. When you're eating those herbs, I want you to understand that you're remembering the bondage that you have been in for 400 years. God told Moses to tell the fathers, the heads of each household during the night, I'm going to send a death angel. There is going to be a death angel let loose. And the death angel is going to pass through every street in Egypt, every house, every dwelling place, every little hut, from Pharaoh's house to the peasant's house. Every house, the death angel will pass by. God said, it will be my death angel. And it's going to pass by the dwelling places of Egypt. It's going to look at the 2 side posts. It's going to look over the upper door of that door. And if the blood of that male lamb without blemish that you have studied for 4 days, if the blood is on the lintel and on the doorposts, then I will pass by. There will be no harm to your family. You can celebrate the next morning if the blood is applied. But if there is a household which has refused to take the male lamb without blemish, and refuses and ignores, or just simply does not follow the pattern or the plan to put the blood on the lintel and on the doorposts, the death angel will enter that house and will take the life of the firstborn of that family. Now, church, realize with me, if you can, the importance of the message that God gave to Moses to give to these families. It should be enough for everyone in this room to want to sit up and take notice to what God says in his word, especially if we have families. Moses said,